Hello, everybody, except Graveris. Welcome back. There they are. Hi, Andrew.
I'm totally here.
Yep. Cool. All right. So, where first? Where do you want to go first? What team should we watch? Do their investigative montage first.
Either way.
Let's do Lane and Anastasia first.
Okay.
If I can curry.
Anastasia.
Annie,
It's
little orphan Annie.
not an orphan.
You said that in an indignant way that only an orphan would use.
No.
I'm sorry. Were you speaking orphan speech? Do you understand the secret hand language of orphans?
I just have like orphan. What do you call it? Like PTSD. Like all the character backstories I've read that have orphaning in them. Like I'm just over it.
That's fair. That's a real thing. We can.
I want to meet your parents then.
We can put a moratorium on orphanages.
You want to meet the Cinderfell parents? They're not actually Cinderfell. They're just something else. I haven't determined. But anyway, let's do our thing.
They, like their daughter, are something else. Little edgelord Annie. Oh my god, that's so good. Oh my god, I'm writing that down. Little edgelord Annie. So into it. All right. So, Lane. Thank you so much, Solidex. Big ups. Big ups to you. So, the two of you, right? It's Lane and Anastasia.
Anastasia, yes.
Okay. So where are you going? You're going to the Black Fist?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
We got a name from the sage of like a Black Fist guy.
Yes. Yeah. Knight Lieutenant Bolvar.
That's him, Bolvar.
Knight Lieutenant Bolvar. So the two of you, head to the headquarters of the Black Fist, the Stojano Gate, and it's this big, dark stone structure from which all of these chains hang, and from some of them there are dead bodies, including the cot of the two scribe thieves. So when you approach the massive walls of Valjevo Castle, you see the massive iron-bound doors of Stojano Gate. They're open wide as they have been for 100 years, and from the top of the wall, bodies hang from chains, twisting slowly in the breeze, while ravens peck at the tastier morsels. As you enter, a long line of people is lined up at a desk where a bored-looking guard is flipping through an enormous ledger. What do you do?
Is this a guy we have to talk to? This ledger fellow? There's a big line.
Hard to say. There's a line that leads up to the front desk, at least.
Okay, it's the front desk.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
It appears that way.
I am going to walk up behind the last person in line and address them and ask, what is the function of this line?
And they turn around. It's a woman, like an older woman. She's holding a cat. The cat doesn't really want to be here. She's holding this cat. She turns around, looks at the two of you, and she's like, "Oh, you're in the wrong line, dear. Marriage certificates are a whole other building altogether."
Charming. No, I mean, are you trying to speak to people in authority in the Black Fist?
She nods.
By going through this front desk.
Yeah, she nods. She's like, aye, that's why I'm in line. Some nasty brute stepped on old Mr. Sprinkles here. And she holds her cat in your face. And she's like, I just want justice, I just want to see justice done.
Okay, so yeah. I'm gonna drop this entire campaign, and we're gonna go and find out who hurt
Who stepped on Mr. Sprinkles?
Yeah, no, I'll go on a murdering spree over that.
Excellent. That's the actual adventure. That's the secret bonus DLC adventure. I've been waiting. I've been hinting at it the whole campaign, and here we are.
So her cat's right up in my face.
Yeah. He's kind of mangy, old, gray cat with a sort of kinked tail.
Right. I sort of turn away from her without even saying goodbye. It's very much fuck you, person, and walk past the line up towards the person at the front.
Yeah, so you get intercepted. There's another guard that sees you walking, and he steps in the way. He's like, hold on, where are you going?
You have a criminal on the loose,
He nods. He's like, this is Flen. We've got lots.
and we're going to find him. We need to speak to Knight Commander, was it?
And he kind of
Olar?
squints and looks back and forth between the two of you, and he's like, "Oh, vigilantes, is it? The adventures of tall guy in this one."
The way. Intimidation, please.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, so you just want to like get up in his face and be like, "I'm serious. Fuck you."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like
it's
he's being all condescending, and I'm just
totally
gonna
is.
like put my foot down on it.
Yeah, totally. Okay. Yeah, he's.
Advantage.
ooh, no.
No. Okay.
I mean, if you had asked Lane for help and then rolled, maybe.
Yeah, it wasn't
but-
a good choice.
Yeah, it's a DC 15. These guys are not easily intimidated. And you get all up in his face, and he's like, all right, calm down. See that line? He looks at it, and he's like, get in the line. And then he kind of like pauses, and he's like, I mean, if you don't want to wait in line. And he like looks pointedly at your like coin purse on your belt, Lane.
So these people are in the business of making you more work. We are in the one of reducing it. I think it's within all of your interests if we just get to speak to the person that we need to speak to, and then
And
they can get back to saving.
Yeah, he leans back a little bit, like kind of like tells me to get the look at you, and he's like, "You look like a guy who's used to getting his way. Let me imagine for a moment this is how this goes for you. You and your mouthy friend here just barge into any place you like and start throwing around orders, and you think just because you got a big sword and you got whatever it is you got going on, you just get your way, huh? Well, not here, not on my watch. We've got rules, and the rules says you stand in line."
Do I have any spell I can cast on this motherfucker? That would be great, but I'm not gonna do it. But I would really like to just command him to move.
You have Eldritch Blast.
That's true.
Cool. Yeah, so this turns into the party versus the Black Fist, the game.
The whole time.
I'm
So
definitely not going.
I give him a cursory look.
Yeah.
I assume he's just like a basic
like a
guard.
watchman, yeah.
Yeah, he's a member of the Black Fist and is acting accordingly. He's sort of a trumped up thug who's been given a position of authority.
All right. Then I guess I will appeal to. I was like, I know a great many officers within your organization. If you are found to be helpful to us, then that could be advantageous to you as well. I put in a good word. That's worth a little bit more than gold right here, wouldn't you say? Salary over a longer time.
Why don't you make a persuasion check?
I guess I can't help.
You can't help, no, because
I
you tried to
intimidate.
intimidate and failed. Yeah. A 10, eh? Yeah. He's like, he says, he's like, influential, are you? Putting a good word in the right ear, huh? Think I'm looking for a promotion? No. I like my job. I don't have to do anything. I sit at a desk. I drink when nobody's looking, and it works out great. I don't need any more attention than I got. Unlike you two,
Can you
dressed
guys
that
just
way.
bribe this guard and get on with your day?
And
He'll be like,
not here, shut
"5
up."
gold. And you'll
he points at the line and he's like, get in line. And you notice now that the owner of Mr. Sprinkles now has like 2 or 3 people behind her, and she's telling the story again to like them, being like, they stepped on my cat.
Yeah, no, I'm just like, fine. If it's going to be that way, then perhaps a few more drinks for you, and I'll just give him like a couple of gold.
Okay, all right. So he takes the gold and he like looks at it, looks around, and like no one seems to notice or care that you're bribing him. Like even the people in the line are just like, oh yeah, of course, sure. And he's like, I don't know. He looks at the two gold you gave him. He's like, I've got a powerful thirst. I'm a thirsty man.
Wow. Okay.
I'll just give him another one.
Yeah, he looks at it. He's like, that's a bit better. I can feel You feel it clearing up already. And he puts the coins into his pouch, and yeah, and he walks you up to the front of the line, and there's a young man who's obviously been like beaten, like he's got like a black eye, and there's like blood coming down from his head, and he's starting to say like, I was ambushed in the and the guard walks him, just shoves him out of the way. He's like, you're done, and like pushes him out of the way, and this kid just kind of like stumbles aside, and he looks up, and there's this kind of bored looking guy sitting at the desk, and he looks like he at one point, maybe when he was like in his early 20s, he was like, you know, big burly like muscly dude, but hasn't had a lot of chance to like maintain that over the past 20 years, so his weight has shifted somewhat, and he's just kind of like at this desk looking bored. He's got kind of a nasty comb over, and he's got a cape on, and he's sitting at the desk with this big ledger in front of him, and he kind of like looks at the other guard, and the guard says, he's like, Kron, important case. These two fancy pants, I got something to say to you. And he's like, looks at you. He's like, there you go. And he walks away.
Well, yes. Important case. We're here about the two thieves. The one was executed earlier today. We're here to look for your escapee.
Yeah, and he kind of leans back, and he's like, bounty hunters, eh? And he like flips through the ledger until he finds the thing. He turns around, he points at the picture of the scribe, and he says, this one? You want to find him?
Yes.
He nods, and he says, his friend killed one of ours. Looking forward to seeing that one hang. So why are you here? Go, find him.
We need to speak to Knight Commander Bolvar about what
He gestures broadly. He's like, you stand before him now.
Do we really?
I mean, he doesn't have like a nameplate on the
Wait,
desk,
just
but
at
he's
the front desk.
yeah, he's telling you. Yeah, he's like, yes, I know. I'm more handsome in person. You have heard stories of me. I am Knight Lieutenant Kron Bolvar, hero of Black Fist, issuer of justice. And he kind of like looks off in the distance.
You are a rather impressive figure.
He nods.
Now,
He's
what-
like, I know. His desk make me seem taller.
What can you actually tell us about where this person may have run off to, or anything about the other friend who was executed recently?
Yeah, he says, well, I can tell you, these scribes, they have neck like kindling, snap like nothing. That one, we tried to make him talk, but he says nothing about his friend or these books they are stealing. I don't know. We care about little else except that he killed one of ours, and that is a crime worth punishment. I don't know where he went. If we knew where he went, we would have him already. We are very good at these sorts of things. Yeah. What else do you want to know?
Oh, go ahead, Lane.
Well, was he lost within the city, or do we think he left? Were there any sightings at any of the gates?
He says, we are hearing at North Gate, man with face like rat sneaks out in middle of the night. Was yesterday, heading north along a river. But I am not sending any guards because we are having so few. You are seeing I have much work to do. And he gestures at the line. He says, everyone coming to me, oh, Knight Lieutenant, my cat, you kidnapped my family. Ugh. I have to listen to this all day.
I'd be much more concerned about the first one as well. I understand that particular choice.
Speaking of men and jobs and things that need to be done, what was the name of that fellow over there? I didn't catch it while we were speaking.
Oh, the other guard?
Yeah.
Geez, Elf, I don't know. He looks at him and he says, Lieutenant Anders, he has problem.
Yes, we well noticed. Good. Okay. Well, I was just wondering for, if we need to liaise in the future.
Yeah, he looks at you and he's like, oh, no, you don't liaise with that one. He has bad disease, if you know what I mean.
Oh,
You
yes.
stay away
yes.
from liaisons.
Very well. Good to know.
And so I gather from what you've been saying, it's preferable if this runaway scribe is brought back to you to face justice in the proper manner.
He nods.
If,
Yes, proper manner.
exactly, I wouldn't want to deprive you of that, but were something to happen in the pursuit of his returning to justice,
Say he got lit on fire.
he fell down a small ditch and broke his neck before you could do it for him.
He fell on several swords.
Maybe some tentacles.
He laughs and he says, "Yes, falling onto swords is a big problem for criminals in the city. Yeah, no one will look either way. Maybe some disappointed officers, but we hang him from the wall anyhow."
People really should be more careful where they leave their swords.
And when you say that, he like, it's like you remind him of something, and he looks down and you notice he's got an empty scabbard, and he's like, "Oh, yeah." And he says he's like, "Yeah, I like you two are bloodthirsty." He's good, not like normal adventurers, so high and mighty. I have something. And he like opens a drawer and digs through it. He pulls out a like a piece of paper, a note, and he puts it down and slides it to you. And he says, "Yeah, we found this on the body. Yeah, I mean, was not body at the time. we found it on him. I can't make sense."
I take the note and open it up.
Yeah. The note reads, sheaf of vellum, 1, chalk dust, 1 pound sack, leather case. 3 items.
Well then, it looks like some kind of shopping list or inventory, something.
Yeah, he nods and shrugs. Maybe.
We'll make something of it, I'm sure. Thank you for your help, Knight Commander. You have been far more agreeable than some of your cohorts.
He chuckles. He's like, "That's me. Good old agreeable Bolvar."
Well, you know what they say, there must always be a knight commander. Well, I leave.
So as you walk away, he just shouts to the line like, "Next!" And somebody walks up, and they're like crying about some injustice or other, and he goes about processing them. Cool. Okay. So meanwhile, elsewhere, what's the other half of the team doing?
So they were letting us investigate their lodgings, right?
Yeah. So you want to go check out Spurnick and Tybeam's room, or do you want to go to the scribes hall and talk to the other nerdlings?
We're gonna do both
All
Both
right.
of them.
Good.
in a montage.
Yeah, montage.
All right. So which one's first?
Let's look at the room first.
Yeah, see
Alright.
if we can get anything to talk about.
So the Lord Sage escorts you. He's on his way to do sagely stuff, and escorts you to Spurnick and Tybeam's room. If this were a police procedural, they'd have like the yellow tape, but it's not, so there isn't. Leads you there, and he opens the door, and he says to you, "We've kept it exactly as it was when the criminals were taken into justice." Gestures into the room. Feel free to have a look around. The Black Fist has examined the place, but to my understanding found nothing. Gods know that they don't have the sharpest eye for these things.
The bag that contained the books and food and such, is that still in the room, or
Yeah.
was it taken as evidence or something?
He points and he says, you can see a shoulder bag lying on the floor.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So he says to you, Graveris, he's like, "Good luck, and I hope to see you soon with my books." And he kind of shuffles off, mumbling to himself. So in the room, it's a small Spartan room furnished with a bunk bed. It's a pair of beds, a narrow desk, and 2 small dressers. There's a haversack that's been opened, lying on the floor near the desk, and the equipment I mentioned before lying kind of near it on the floor. So like some rope, an extra suit of clothes, food and water, that kind of thing.
It looks like these gentlemen weren't planning on staying in the city. You don't necessarily need rope very often unless you're trying to get into a tall building. Oleander, I'm gonna like look around the room and like see if anything's like hidden like behind dressers or like under beds or something that they didn't like the Black Fist didn't see.
Yeah. Do you wanna help with that, Graveris?
You're also
Mhm.
we're looking together. Okay.
Okay.
And
Sure.
I'll cast guidance as well. So roll a d4 and add it
Okay.
to your 13. Your incredible 13 turns into a magnificent 16.
Okay.
Thank you. I'm not very intelligent.
All right, so the two of you case the room, and I think for the most part, it is what it appears to be. It just looks like a room that some scribes might stay in while performing their scribely duties. But Oleander, you find a false panel in the back of one of the dressers. So the dresser
Okay.
is deeper than it appears, and there's this false panel you can pull the front off of.
I do that.
Okay. All right. So you you reach into the back, you push the scribe's like extra robes or whatever away, and you get a hold of the panel and pull it open. And behind it, you find bundled on the floor some kind of black and purple. It's hard to see because it's not that well lit in here. Some dark sheer like fabric. Two little piles of it.
Well,
Alright.
pull that out and
Yeah, I pull it out and I say, there was a secret compartment in the dresser. And I like shake the fabric out and I hold it up. And say,
Yeah, there's two sets of black and purple robes. The robes are purple and there's like a black mantle and hood, like a cowl. And then embroidered on the back of the mantle, the part meant to sit between your shoulder blades, there's a silver threaded design that looks like a flame with two kind of serpentine like eyes in the fire, and then a downward claw beneath the flame.
all these freaking dragon cults.
I didn't
It's
think
like every
this
week
was
a new dragon cult.
Well, I mean, you can. I mean, you definitely recognize the sigil, like you've seen it before.
On our adventures.
Yeah, it's definitely the mark of the cult of the dragon.
Andrew, you could say that dragon cults are all the rage. The dragon rage.
Get out of here.
Okay, so yeah, I take the robes and I put them in the sack and I'm gonna take them. I'm taking them with us.
Okay, so just write down that you have two sets of cult of the dragon robes.
Okay.
Great.
Yeah, the name of this role-playing game is Dungeons and People Who Like Dragons.
Dungeons and people who are really fond of dragons.
Yeah,
Dragons, and the women that love them.
Dungeons and Dragon enthusiasts.
Heraldo.
They're just gearing up for DracoCon. It's gonna be sweet. All the
Yeah,
coolest
it's all-
dragon fans are gonna be there.
It's just a marketing ploy. This is all just a boondoggle for con. Yeah,
Yeah.
All right. So
fire campaign.
having discovered this, I think that Oleander is like, yes, I found out everything there is to know about this room. I'm good. I got this. And perhaps we should go talk to their peers and see if they have any information on
They
the
might have let
gentleman.
something slip.
Certainly, they weren't all that they appear to be. So yeah, let's go talk to the other fellow scribe peoples, see what there is to hear.
Sure.
Yeah, so we go.
So just help me remember. There was an adventure sometime past where you burned down. The tavern was burned to the ground, right? That like you lit it on fire. Do you remember that? The Laughing Goblin, I think it was.
Yeah,
called?
the laughing goblin.
It did
yeah.
get burned down, right?
Actually, burned
Yes, they got.
We
burned.
did.
I believe
we
it
did
got
burn
burned down. Okay.
It did.
We did burn it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was just
Okay,
checking.
well,
Just
I
curious.
didn't burn it.
No,
'cause-
you weren't there.
Wait,
The-
hang on. Did we burn it? Because we just
No.
like cast fog and then
Burn
stabbed
it.
a bunch of people.
Did it get burned? Okay, it was just the site of a horrible murder, and then
Yeah.
Okay.
it was
Yeah,
All right, I wasn't
Well,
sure
you
if it
got
burned down or
abandoned.
not.
Was the what you described? Is that like? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe it was like badly scorched, but not totally burned down.
I didn't use any fire, I don't think.
Okay. All right. Just checking. Okay. So yes, you want to go and talk to the go to the scribes hall.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So the thing about libraries and like medieval stuff is that we don't have printing presses, right? There's no way to mass produce books. So if you want to make books, you need to get a bunch of people who are able to write to be able to copy them. And so that's what this place is. It's basically like a book factory. So you walk out into this scribe's hall, and there's just like rows of high tables. The place smells very strongly of ink and of paper, of binding glue, and of candle wax and candle smoke. There are big, thick tallow candles, most of which have like been burning for hours already, on these desks. And sitting at all the desks are dozens of people hunched over, and there's just the faintest like scratching sound, sort of they're like filling the room. So you enter the scriptorium, and there's quiet. Just the sound of quills scratching parchment fills the room. There are 2 desks that are notably empty, like just along the line, just 2 empty desks with no book on them.
All right.
Dolores goes to these desks, and I start like looking them over.
Sure. Yeah. Now they're not desks that like store anything. They're basically just like flat, like tables with a little propped up area where you'd put the book you're
dragon pictures
copying
on them at all? Like
scratched into the desk. Dragons rule. No. So they're the 2 desks seem to have nothing out of place or unusual, but one of the desks does have a strange, maybe not to you, but an item that like you don't see on any of the other desks. There's a folding compass, like the two-pronged like sharp thing for like measuring distance.
Yeah, and so Graveris is like,
it's more often associated with cartography than with
yeah, because you measure distances, relative distances.
Mhm.
So like I have like picked that up, and I'm checking it out.
I think I would go to like whoever's desk is like closest to these guys.
Yeah, there's a girl. She's probably like 15. Her hair is like bound up in a like messy kind of like braid on top of her head, and she's right in the middle of drawing, like copying a drawing of like a very intricate like manticore devouring a dwarf that's on the book that she's reading. So she's like trying to like she's got the book turned sideways, and she's like sketching the face of the manticore.
Well, that looks lovely.
So you say that, and your voice kind of like, even said quietly, like echoes a little in the hall, and like several of the scribes look up, and 2 of them are like, shh, and they go back to writing. And she like bites her lip and doesn't look at you, and she's like, can't talk, drawing, and like sketches the like teeth digging into the dwarf's face.
Is she human?
Yeah. She hasn't even looked at you. She doesn't know, like, most of the time when you talk to people, they look at you and they're like, dark elf, but she hasn't looked up, so she hasn't noticed.
I turn to Gravaris and say, quietly, as quietly as I can, maybe one of the people around here saw what they were doing with that thing.
Yeah, so I walk over to one of the desks, and I just plant the compass in it.
Yeah.
Like right next to whatever.
So you walk over, and there's
working on.
there's a guy. He's probably in his 30s. He's got a book open, and it's like the book he's copying from is like this incredibly fine, like dense text that fills the page. It's like the page is almost like if you squint a little, you can't tell the lines apart. But in front of him, he's got a blank book open, and then a smaller folio open in front of it with some fairly like body illustrations.
Ooh.
And you walk over, and
it's just boom.
yeah, I don't think he notices you because you're stealthy McGee. So you walk over, and he's just like leaned back on his desk, like looking at it and kind of like looking at this illustration. And then you slam the compass down, and he starts. And
the compass is like standing in the desk, right? Because the points are in it, and I just like twang it.
Yeah.
So it's like, dong.
Yeah, he looks over at you, and I think he initially expects you to be like the Lord Sage or something, so he's starting to like stammer an apology, and then he looks at you and realizes you're not someone that you have any authority over him, looks at the compass, and he's like, hey, that's my desk.
Yeah, and I have his like body book is already in my hands, and I'm like flipping through it.
And then he's like, hey, that's my book.
Well, if you want to keep your book and not have the Lord Sage keep your book,
So you start talking. You start talking. He looks at you, and his eyes go wide. And he's like, "Hey, that's Drow." And he like looks around, like, "Oh God, there's a monster in the library." Like hasn't
I
anyone
just like
noticed
step
this?
on his foot.
Yeah, and everyone else is just quietly like writing, and he's just like, "Monster." And then you step on his foot, and he's like, "Ow!" And he like gets all quiet, like looks at the tube, like, "Please don't stab me."
We seek, sir. And I'm like super pissed.
He like makes he like crosses himself. Like he does a mark of like protection from evil, and he's like, whatever you want, milady. I don't mean I. And he's like looking at you and squirming and kind of like trying to get away from you, but not leave his chair.
And then I'm just like, look at me.
Yeah, you take over. I'm like just fuming now, like thinking of all the creative ways I could kill him.
Yeah, his eyes snap over to you.
I'm gonna ask you some questions.
He nods. Yeah, yes, of course.
Don't spend much time working, huh? Mostly this.
He
I
holds
have
his
the book.
he holds his hands up, and his fingers have that like dark stain that Scribe's hands get. And he's like, I have bad wrists. You see, I need to take breaks.
Yes, well, on one of your breaks, do you get a chance to snoop on these two? And I like gesture with the book towards the two empty desks.
Yeah. He nods, and he's like, yes, yes. Terrible workers, those two. I think we have protocols. There are books that need to be copied, and these two would go outside. They just took books from the shelf. I never saw them working on anything I thought they were supposed to be working on. And he like keeps looking at his book, like, please give me that back. Oh God.
Yeah, and I'm like back to like flipping through it, and you can see me like quirk an eyebrow when I turn certain pages.
Yeah. I think the book is probably called something like Druidic Sects. And all the pictures are of like people frolicking with dryads and what have you. There's a particularly naughty illustration of a treant in there.
Yeah. Seems you shared some interests with the two of them.
He nods and he says,
Flip.
yes, I got that from Tybeam. I caught them looking at something they shouldn't ought to be, and he gave it to me to keep my mouth shut. So
Easily plied with bribes, then, are you?
it's not a bribe. Just it's lonely work being a scribe.
Both eyebrows up. Well, your desperation to sate your lusts aside, we need information on them, where they might have gone, who they might have talked to, if they had any friends.
Yes.
What
I
we were
like
looking
kind of
at.
closer on him, like when I say friends, is it like
Yeah.
one of your friends?
He says, no, they kept to themselves, arrived together, worked together, and spent most of their time away from the library. I understood that they took meals together at an inn not too far from here. Something about a goblin. And other than that, I mean, they never invited me. And you get the end of that sentence is like, but I wish they would. I'm so lonely. But he doesn't say that part.
What was it that you saw them looking at that they weren't supposed to be looking at? Was any of it a map? And like I point at the.
Yeah, he nods. Some of the library's wings contain cartographical information, but we're not cartographers. You see, making a map is a different skill than scribing a book. And so I don't know why they were making a copy of a map, I think.
Do you know
Which one?
He shakes his head. No, but I heard that some books went missing. Maybe they took it with them.
Well, one of them is dead, so he didn't take it with him.
Yeah, and we have the sack, and I like dragged the sack over, and I'm like, was it this book? Slam. Was it this book? Slam.
Right, the like fake books.
Yeah.
The forgeries. Yeah, he looks at it and he shakes his head. He's like, no, none of those. I would recognize a map from either of those tomes at a site. And besides, why do you have those? The Lord Sage is very proud of those two. They should be in his office.
We're investigating. And then I just like brush it off.
Yeah.
You don't remember anything about the map in particular. Was it illustrating any areas nearby, perhaps?
I didn't get a good look at it. Mountainous, mostly, I think.
And I just like wave this little book of his in front of him, like, oh, I'm sure if it had been more like this, you would have gotten a proper look.
He looks at you like, oh, come on, man. Fuck off. So he kind of rolls his eyes, but is also like super embarrassed, obviously. The girl has finished drawing the manticore and is like leaning on her desk, like watching this whole thing, like, haha, busted.
Yeah, and then I like pivot and look at her. I'm like, how about you?
She just shakes her head. She's like, points to the book. She's like, I I get focused. I don't need to make friends here. I didn't know the two of them.
And then I look back at this guy who sits across from her.
Mm-hmm.
Wonder what would make her not have any friends here.
Yeah, and he's like, listen, being a scribe, it's insular work. We focus. We have important tasks to do, and writing out an entire book by hand takes a long time. So it's not easy to be social. I think these two just were friends before they came here and just stayed friends. I always doubted their commitment to book work, but that's just me.
As he says that, I'm like looking at this.
Yeah, sure.
Could you direct us to the cartography section?
He says, certainly, it's that, and he like points down a hole.
And then I turn and I'm just like, okay, we're gonna go see if they have a missing map.
Yeah, I like scoop all of our forgeries back into this bag, like really
Keep it book,
haphazardly
keep it
because
book,
they're
keep it.
not actually valuable.
Mm-hmm.
And then just like toss his little folio over my shoulder as we're leaving.
Okay.
All right, so yeah, we should go to the cartographer area and see if anyone's noticed a missing map or if they noticed the two guys looking in any particular section.
Right. Yeah, so there's an area, it's not as big or as busy because it's a library and not like a whatever a library for maps is, but they do have some maps that are stored here. I think when you come in, there's a big like yellowing map of all of like of Faerun. It's several hundred years old, so it's like kind of out of date and weird. But yeah, it shows the whole of the main continent. There's a kind of misty area off to one side with like an illustration of like an elf maiden with a sword that says like Evermeet under it, but it's like a guess because like God knows where the elves live. And then there's like two other continents that are basically just big, kind of like empty like sketches where at this time no one had visited really before. And so that takes up the wall, and then under it there are several scroll racks. Where maps are available, and then in the room there are several tables, but nobody currently, like the room is empty when you come in.
Are there any like obvious gaps in here?
No, it's hard to tell. Like they're organized in some fashion, but you can't make heads or tails of it just at a glance.
So there's no one here.
No, it's empty and quiet. You do notice that the map does seem to be, it doesn't actually maybe look that familiar to you. It's very surface centric. There's no mention of the Underdark whatsoever.
And it's like upside
Of
down.
course not.
Yeah, because like you wouldn't recognize like rivers or lakes or like political like you live in a series of caves underneath all that shit. So
I mean, there's underground.
they don't even have Menzo Baranzan on there
And
anywhere. There are lakes underground. It's true.
Wow, what a bunch of erasure,
It's true.
or whatever, something.
They should check their surface privilege.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I just like look at Oleander kind of questioningly, like, does this seem useful at all?
If there was someone here to ask, perhaps, and I like poke my head, like if there's a door, like poke my head out and see if there's anyone like around that I can yell at to make help us.
No.
No, there's no one.
Just as a quick prompt, I know I'm not there. This map is of like the area around the Dragonspine Mountains and stuff, right? The same one?
What's that? Which map?
The one that they're investigating that they have a forgery of.
Forgery.
Yeah, they don't have the forgery.
We don't have a forgery of the map.
Yeah.
They were just
There
looking.
was a map that was earlier in the hands of that moon elf that I don't know about, but Gravaris would. Do you remember?
Yes, but whether or not that's related doesn't help us because I never had it, never got to look at it.
That's true. I guess I would look around, like trail my fingers on the really old map on the wall and be like, this thing old and gross, and like look for gaps in the shelves and see if like there's anything. But if there's not like a person to help out, then there's not much.
Yeah.
Well.
Yeah, you're in kind of like a dusty, like forgotten corner of the library.
Is there like less dust on some of it?
You can make an investigation check if you really want to like spend the time looking.
Yeah, we'll spend some time here.
Yeah,
We've got nothing
we'll
else
take
to
a
do.
look because
Sure. Yeah.
Tavares is helping. I'm assuming.
Yes.
Oh damn.
Great. Also, you get 26.
Nice.
26.
Side note, that roll would have gotten you pretty arrows.
Yeah. Wow.
Okay. So yeah, I think there, like I said, there is definitely a system of ordering, like according, because there's the big map above it, and then the smaller maps underneath. Kind of, you can kind of figure out where they go according to the map above, right? There's a correlation between the two, but there doesn't seem to be any obvious. Like there's lots that are missing. There's lots of empty spots in the scroll case, and it's not as well organized, but you can tell that like if there is anything missing, it would be hard to say if it was missing on purpose without like consulting a card catalog of all of the maps.
So there's nothing here.
Yeah, I mean, you'd assume that if they were in the middle of, if they had to bail in the middle of making a forged version of the map, they might have the original and the forgery on them. They might not have been able to replace the forgery in time.
True. Well, I think that's all we're getting out of this library. We should go meet our friends. Friends. Quotes.
It translates differently in common.
Wow.
Yes, our associates will be eager to hear of our findings.
The word in Dark Elf sounds more like palatable subservience, but you can just friend is fine.
All right, so yeah, I think we're gonna just leave and go meet up with Lane and Anastasia.
Okay, where do you meet them?
Where
We
agreed we would meet them.
No.
Which is fine. That's totally okay.
Hang on. Andrew's got a thing.
we arranged to meet in some square somewhere. Once we're like, we were just like, okay, meet back here in an hour because we don't have cell phones, so that's how we have to.
Sure.
But once we meet up, Graveris is like, I'm a little bit hungry. Let's get some lunch, and then I just like start walking towards that tavern.
The Laughing Goblin.
Yes.
No. If we're going there, you're not going there.
Oh, don't worry. I disguise myself on the way
Yes. All right. How do you disguise yourself?
with magic. I'm just like,
Awesome.
So
With magic.
as we're walking,
What
I
do you look like now?
lean over to Graveris, like some kind of history with this place. Then
can never be too careful.
true.
What's your disguise? What do you disguise?
What does
as?
Nouveau Graveris look like?
Just like
Clearly has a goatee.
Yeah, he's got a big curly mustache and a goatee, and his name is Gravaro.
it looks like Graveris, except he's wearing glasses and has a big nose.
Right, you're Wa Graveris.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, my hat has an inverted letter. No. Graveris is disguised as like the like moon elf version of Oleander, like could be her twin sister, but is
Cool.
Light skin, dark hair.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's Mirrorland Oleander. And as soon as I transform, I like turn back and look at you and wink, and then walk on.
So what spell are you using to
Disguise self,
Nice.
which I will do this with. Boom.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, look at that.
the details are important.
Super
with this guy, so-
disguise.
So you make yourself
including my clothing, armor, weapons, and other belongings on your person, look different until the spell ends, or until I use an action to dismiss it.
nice. All right, cool.
I can seem 1 foot shorter or taller, thin, fat, or in between.
And it is an illusion. So anything like your hair is longer than it actually is. So some of your hair is illusory. You have illusory extensions.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Man, I wish I could cast this spell. That'd be awesome.
it's a
That'd
good
be
spell to
amazing.
have.
I
Not
know,
even- not
right?
even-
I really want it.
Not even just to
Not gonna
pretend
lie.
not even just to pretend you're someone else, but just to make yourself look super cool all the time.
Yeah,
Just
Just
be
to
like-
be like, I want this kind of clothes now.
But it's only an hour at a time.
still.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
It'd be totally
So
cool.
to discern that I am disguised, a creature can use its action to inspect my appearance and must succeed at an int check against my spell save DC.
Got it. Okay. Cool.
And have reason to be inspecting me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's not just like I'm gonna
Other
take a
than the
good
fact that
long hard look at you because I have a reason to.
Attractive.
do
Well, I
that.
mean, looking like Moon Elf, Oleander, that might happen. Not gonna lie.
I mean, I
But it's
think that
funny.
I'm thoroughly enjoying this, and I'm like standing next to him, like, look at us. Like, I like people. Like, I'm kind of self-obsessed. So someone who looks like me, best thing ever. I'm really happy with this.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
like staring at him, like, I do look
Looking
good,
through a mirror lightly.
don't I?
Throw a
So
mirror lightly, yes.
so you're so you approach the Laughing Goblin, one of Flan's most oldest and famous inns that didn't quite burn down recently. Merry pipes and thumping drums can be heard yon a block away from a tall timber-framed building. Your mouth begins to water as the smell of roast duck, flowing ale, and pipe smoke waft from the brightly lit entrance. A woodblock sign hangs over the entry, carved in the likeness of a grinning goblin's head. Every table, bench, and stool is crowded with boisterous patrons and covered in flagons of ale.
And I just look at Lane very pointedly, and I'm like, "What a lovely place to have lunch."
And this is when the canned tavern music that only like has 8 bars to it starts to play.
Yeah.
Oh, that does.
I just shake my head, but I don't say anything.
I didn't feel hungry until I smelled that duck. We should get some.
Yeah, and then we go in, we order the duck, we get our own table. We're gonna sit at the table.
Pounds of rarity in the underdark.
Yeah, you don't get a lot of
The
the
underduck.
underducks. Oh my god! Now I'm just imagining what an underduck looks like. It's probably all leathery and has like bat wings and like fangs, or like a sucker for a
It
beak.
has 8 heads, and
It's
12
totally
wings.
Just Count Duckula.
Yeah, it's
Okay,
totally
well,
Count Dracula. He was an underduck for sure.
Anyways, let's eat some really good food in a place I've
It's
never been.
it's the origin of
definitely
that popular saying for Drow, right? You always cheer for the underduck. All right.
You root for the underduck. That way it's an extra little
Roots for the underduck.
Oh man.
Skulls for
Definitely
the skull
a place I've
throne.
never been.
I have to read the one from chat. It's a regular duck with 2 scimitars.
Right, but it's different than all the other ducks. Oh
The most
boy,
special and unique snowflake of a duck.
totally. Oh goddamn! It's okay though. If you try to take it out of the underdark, it just dissolves. So
Well, so we're at our table.
Yes.
We're talking about the cave.
So you're at your table, and a young woman approaches, and Graveris, you recognize her. She's the server that was working here before Amiziel, the girl who, remember, she stood out because she has an elf name, but she's a human.
Yeah.
So yeah, she comes over to serve you, and does everybody order drinks or?
Yes, definitely.
Indeed.
We'll have the duck.
She nods. She's like, huh, good choice. And she goes off to get your food. So yeah, the place is quite boisterous. You get a good look around, and I think there's another familiar face here, Graveris. That big dude, Markoth. You talked to briefly before the fight broke out.
Yeah, the kind of like jolly, talkative.
Yeah, that dude. Markoth Hasselpond. He's here. He's up at the table, and he's engaged in the middle of a very like intense but friendly seeming debate with another man about something.
And so, yeah, Graveris like relates the information from our investigative efforts and then caps it off with, and they used to eat here.
Oh.
Dragon cultist, druid correcting scribes.
Seems like an odd place for upright scribe type individuals.
Seedy
Well, they
tavern
aren't really.
in the Docks district for 2 scribes.
Anyway, we should ask that woman.
Oh, I realized I should have done something differently, but whatever.
Okay.
We should ask that woman if she's seen a rat-faced scribe around, and if she might give us an idea of.
Oh, I think I know who I need to talk to. I'm not going to walk over to Hasselbutt.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, before like you're getting up and going like, oh, I think I know who to talk to. You getting up and leaving. I'm like, all right.
And as I step away from the table, I'm just like, don't eat my duck.
Oh, I will if I finish mine and before you get back. I'm just letting you know.
And so, yeah, I'm going to go strike up conversation with this.
Yeah, and so as you walk over, the end of the conversation, or the middle of the debate, Markoth is saying, he's like, I don't care how old he is. I'm telling you, he has slept with every single one of Mistress Chosen. You don't believe me? Well, that's your own fault. You're a fool. And you walk up, and the other guy is like, but he's 1,000 years. And they both stop. And Markoth turns to you and looks you up and down. He's like, takes off. He's got one of those sort of floppy hats with like a feather, and he takes it off.
Does he milady me?
He bows to you, and he's like, you don't speak Elven, do you?
I speak Elven.
You do? Okay. So in very, very bad Elven, he tries to like greet you as one would like a member of Elvish royalty, like a princess. And he kind of bows and puts his hat back on his kind of sweaty head.
And like he has an accent, right? Like,
yeah.
In a perfect imitation of his accent, I will just say, "Oh, I'm not a princess."
He looks at you and he says, there is no man alive, milady, who would not make the same mistake. And kind of like twists his mustache, and he's like, to what do I owe the honor? Maladriel.
Friend of mine. You seem like a regular here, a fixture, if you will.
He looks around and he says, why I was practically born on the floor of this tavern. Not literally, mind you, but yes, a regular. That's me. And he puts out a hand, and he says, Markoth Hasselpond.
And I, do one of these.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he says, I know every face that comes in and out of this place. I'm so glad they're open again. They were shut for a while, some unpleasantness, but that's why I like the place. It's rowdy. Are you there by yourself, or did you bring your friends? And he's
I'm definitely eating.
Okay, all right.
Unless Lane wants to like come up and give away the whole gambit.
Thinking about it. Okay.
Fine.
Butt in halfway through just to make it extra awkward.
Sure. Yeah, no, I'll wait. I think about going over because we normally do these things, but then it's like, oh yeah, it's fine. Makes sense.
And so yeah, I just start like describing the two of them. I'm just like, oh yes, well, I'm looking for my two acquaintances. Well, I mean, they owe a friend of mine some money, and he's too nice to pursue the matter, but he is in desperate need, and I was hoping I might speak with them and at least get a partial repayment.
Yeah, and he's listening and nodding solemnly, and when you say partial repayment, he says, my lady, you are as charitable as you are beautiful, going to all this trouble for a friend, you said?
Yes, he's bedridden and a generous soul, but cannot make this trip, nor would he even if he could, kind though he is.
Right, so when you say that, when you don't immediately be like, yes, my boyfriend or husband or something, he's like, kind of like smiles, and he says, now let old Markoth think a moment on it. Yes, I think I have seen those two before. They came in here often, around lunchtime. Scribes, I think they were. Not the most social fellows, kept to themselves. But we get all sorts here. They came in first time a few months back. 3-4 months, perhaps? They didn't look like moneyed types, so maybe you're lucky. Maybe they still have your friend's money. You can wring it out of them. I would check at the library if you're looking for them. It's usually where these sorts of folks hang out.
Yeah, so this guy's not giving me enough information yet. So I need to like wring it out of him. So I like keep, I'm going to keep asking like leading questions about like, well, did they ever bring anything? Do you ever overhear any of their conversations? When was the last time you saw them? They aren't at the library anymore. Can you think of where they might have gone?
Yeah. So when you let on that you've been to the library, he's like, excellent sleuthing, madam. You're a professional at this, I see. And he kind of like looks you up and down and he says, don't go looking into old Markoth's past too hard, huh? Youthful indiscretions. And he like does that awkward thing where he's like, goes like pat you on the shoulder or like, and he's like, maybe it's not time to touch you yet. And then like kind of like chuckles it off like, yeah.
Yes, in my early hundreds, I had a wild period, but I'm long past that. I understand.
He kind of looks at you and he's like, to be immortal. I wish I was still in my hundreds. Little human joke. Yeah, so these friends of yours, these two, I do remember once or twice there was a third, an older man that met with them, a tall, kind of hawkish look to him, frightening individual. Haven't seen him since.
Perhaps start a conversation with this man, did you?
She shakes his head and he says, there are people you approach and people you wait to approach you. This man was not approachable, shall we say. Frightening sort. I try to avoid that business. I'd like to stay alive. And I think that when he describes this guy, this like hawkish like dude, it actually occurs to you. Maybe we get the kind of like flashback to the when you were here before, and we see all the tables of the people that like Elf the Huntress and like all those people. At one of the tables we see the two scribes meeting with this like kind of hunched, kind of hawkish looking man in the background of a shot. Right? We see him, and it kind of occurs to you like, wait, I've seen these three before.
Yeah, should I put any dice behind all of this, or?
No, I think he's fine to tell you what he knows. Yeah, he doesn't need too much.
Great.
Because he's gonna just tell everybody he knows that this beautiful elf woman was looking for for these people. He's gonna just spread the gossip around because that's what he does.
Yeah, well, that's fine. He can tell them that this non-existent person was looking for a dead man and his friend who will soon be dead.
Yeah, I think right before you like change, before you, like he keeps trying to change the subject to talk about like him and get more information about you and like just like engage in conversation that isn't so directed. He does say though, he says, I did spot one of the two of them, the rat-looking one. Unfortunate parentage that one must have, but I did spot him out one day. When I was able to get out of this place. It's true, I do occasionally leave the Laughing Goblin. I spotted him at a market, Cockburn's Grocery. He points. He has the loveliest flowers in spring. I would love to take you there myself. I know the way, of course, not in the middle of the night. It's closed. But if there's somewhere else you'd like to go, we could, plenty of lovely places to take a moonlight stroll. Dead hard blink though.
Yeah, and so I give him the like confused look, like, oh no, I must not be understanding what you're saying. And say, well, this errand must take up all of my time. You understand.
And he kind of looks like crestfallen. He says, well, hopefully not all of your time, given that you have so very much of it available to you. When you're done with your errands, come back to the Laughing Goblin. I'll be here.
Just because I have a lot of it doesn't mean it can be ill spent. It is as precious to me as it is to you.
Oh, the burn!
And I walk away.
Yes, right. So no, not really. But he just kind of like, very well, and he turns his attention back on the person he was arguing with, and instead of feeling all like downtrodden, he's like, and let me tell you another thing, friend.
Yeah, it's like this getting turned down is a regular thing.
Yeah. And I think you see you pass Amiziel on your way, and she kind of like smirks at you like, nice work. And and the two of you,
I'll give her a wink.
You kind of pass by. Yeah.
The wink of I killed a bunch of people in your presence.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, like it's a knowing wink, but I'm knowing things that she's not knowing I'm knowing.
Yeah, you step over a like a blood stain on the floor as you walk by.
Obviously, Al Swearingen doesn't work here.
It's true. Yeah. Awesome. Cool. Okay. So you have another lead to this.
How long was
grocer.
this conversation? Can I just ask?
It was that long.
It was that long.
Was it long enough for us to get the duck?
Oh yeah. You got
Is my duck waiting for me?
Yeah.
Maybe not. Maybe not.
Oh shit.
All I'm saying.
Oh.
Yes.
No,
I mean,
I would've left it for
Emiziel
tomorrow.
brought the. I think she brought the food when. Yeah, that was she was. It was her walking away from the table as you're walking towards it. So it's just been put on the table.
So have the three of us just been sitting around like bullshitting for
I
the
don't know.
last
Yeah. What
like,
have you been doing?
20 minutes, something?
I've probably been staring at my arrows that aren't as good as I wanted them to be.
You like taking them off your back and just plop them there.
And you're going. You get some like buyer's remorse. Like, why did I buy these stupid arrows?
Not even pretty or anything.
God, these are the ugliest arrows I've ever seen.
Something wrong with your quiver?
Ugh. Don't want to talk about it.
Merchant problems?
Nobody seems to appreciate my skin tone here.
Yes, well,
It's very. I think I'm a monster.
I imagine if I made my way down to the Underdark, my skin tone wouldn't be appreciated either.
Well, you'd probably be eaten, but that's besides the point.
Well, besides that.
Wait, are you a human?
Half elf.
You might not be eaten.
Yep.
That kind of conversation.
Yeah, that.
Can I get a perception check from the people at the table?
Okay.
Yep.
Thanks.
Perceptive.
Yeah. Man,
I
Oleander.
think one of you is.
All right.
I love how Lane and Anastasia's are the same, but
But
opposite.
flipped, yeah. Yeah, Oleander and Anastasia, you notice there's a man sitting alone at a table like nearby, and he's staring at your table. He keeps like looking over. He's got a shaved head, he's dark skin. He's wearing a kind of like indistinct but expensive looking like dark red like doublet. He's got a cape hanging on the chair next to him.
lean
He's
in.
eating.
I lean into the table and I say, two can play at the game Graveris is playing. And point, sort of not point, but like nod a little bit in the direction of the man who's like looking at us sitting alone.
Is he looking at like anyone in particular? Or is he just
Graveris
like
is
there's
sitting
a
nearby
crowd?
playing Hungry Hippos. So he's sitting alone. He's just like hanging out alone. He's got a plate in front of him that's mostly like finished. He's still like kind of eating. There's like a couple of potatoes that he's eating, and he's got an empty like a wine like goblet and a bottle. He bought the bottle, and it's still like mostly full.
So I say that, and then if no one stops me, I slip my way off the table and slide over to where he is sitting to like basically sit down at the table across from him.
Yeah, so you walk up to the table, and he doesn't look up. He just puts his hand up. He's like says quietly so that like no one else is gonna be able to hear, but you're like he speaks quietly enough that no one will hear, but you can hear him. And he's like, "Don't sit."
I figured this might be. I reply and sort of like I have the facial expression of a different conversation, if you know what I mean, and I go, just trying to make it look like it should, you know.
Yeah, right. You laugh, and he looks up, and he smiles at you, and he says, he's like, the two scribes you're looking for, and some friends of yours are looking for the same thing. If you find it, make a map, bring it back here.
You want a map of the location?
He nods. And the
Should be-
facility itself.
Should be easy enough. Any particular leads we can follow up on?
He shakes his head. He says, "No, you're doing a fine job. We don't know anything that you don't."
Perfect. Well, I'll go and retake my seat then.
He nods, and I think before you go, he says, traveling with a dark elf. It's a bold choice, but it keeps the attention off of you. Smart move.
Distractions.
Yeah, he grins and goes back to his meal.
So I walk back over towards the table with like, satisfied smile on my face. Can you what, Blue?
I was just gonna say, can I because obviously people staring at me isn't something that is out of the ordinary. Can I make a check to see if I can tell if he's staring because he wanted?
You can make an insight check.
Yeah, I just want to see if I can tell if he's just staring at me because I'm a dark elf, or if he wanted something, or if I'm up on their conversation or whatever. But obviously I'm not. I just think that he's staring.
Yeah, he was definitely staring at you because he was like, "What the fuck,
yeah.
a dark elf?" Yeah, he kept giving these kind of uncomfortable looks.
So I slide back into my seat next to Oleander, and I say, "Our friend's a little embarrassed, looking at you across the table. I think he might have something for you in terms of romantic interest. But I told him you weren't really into the surface dwellers."
Is he human?
Yeah, he appears to be.
Yeah, well, I'm totally not into surface dwellers then.
As a hilarious highlight to this, when I come back to the table, in order to just keep any whatever off of me, I'm gonna go into possessive girlfriend mode with Oleander.
Yes.
So it's hand along the back as I'm coming back to the table, and I sit down and smile and laugh at a joke that she hasn't even made, and then eat my meal.
I'm a bit taken aback because we all as a group don't touch each other that much, but I'm just yes, I'm totally fine with this. Opposite day, and I like it.
Yeah, and I probably mutter under my breath as I swoop in. I'm just play along, and then I.
That kind of shit would be so confusing
Play
if
along.
you're like, I have a crush on you, Graveris, but only when you're disguised as an elf version of me.
Well, and then I'm making it extra muddy because I'm I'm affectionate towards you, but only in pretend ways. But maybe it's real. Or maybe
Yeah,
who knows?
So confused.
I love
Yes.
I love disguise self and alter self for
I
those
know.
reasons.
Seriously, I only love you when I'm pretending to be an elf.
I only love you when I'm pretending. I
feel like that's like the name.
Graveris anyway.
It's like the name of an autobiographical romance novel about nerds. I only love you when I'm pretending to be an elf.
Yep. Or when you're pretending to
Don't even start me down that road. I play LARP games.
No.
Yep.
Okay,
Whew.
so, we're all now sat and and Lane kind of to make a little bit more noise than normal, now has these full plate gauntlets and kind of puts down the glass a little bit harder. I'm so did we get anything? Any time we're spending here, our quarry is getting farther away to the north.
There's a merchant that they went to see, and I just it was a flower merchant, right?
Speaking of
It was a
merchants-
grocer, but yeah.
Or a grocer, yeah.
Speaking of merchants, I do have this list, and I pull out the note that has 1 pound chalk, 1 sheaf vellum leather case written on it, or whatever it is, and show it to the rest of the party. I'm going to buy these things before we leave, just in case it's a list of things that you need to go wherever they're going. Some kind of copy or
Maybe
that's going to be their supplier for creating the forgeries. No,
perhaps if we present
Vellum
this
as
specific
chalk as
list.
a binding. He was
Could-
probably
Could be.
Perhaps if we present the specific list to that specific grocer, it won't be vellum and chalk that we get back.
maybe.
I'm skeptical. We can check it out.
Okay.
We should quickly though.
Yeah, I mean it's nighttime now, so the grocery's gonna be closed. So you can at least spend the night hanging out and.
Well, I've only got an hour on the spell, so. And
Where'd
the
that
person's
elf
maybe
go?
we need to leave in the next 10 minutes.
Yeah, you're starting to feel a little queasy.
Best eat quickly then.
Yeah, and I wolf down my food in a really undignified manner.
Yeah, very un-moon elf like. Okay. All right, so y'all
Battle.
finish your meals, and then you leave. It's a gold apiece for the food.
Great.
And then we can unless you want to stay at the Laughing Goblin, which I assume you don't.
Nope.
Okay, so we fade to the next day, to the grocer's, and it's not spring, so there's not a bunch of like nice flowers outside, but it is a decently appointed grocer's. The sign outside says simply grocery in common. And inside, where y'all are, there are exposed wood beams, big high ceiling. The walls are stacked with unopened shipping crates, sundry equipage, and like the kinds of like it's a general store essentially. So tools and miscellanea around. And as he notices you, Mr. Cockburn, the owner of the place, approaches. I see you giggling,
Dave, come on.
Dave. We almost made it. We almost made
Come on,
it
Dave.
to being adults.
Nope.
Yeah, so he's a middle-aged man, human, thinning gray hair. He's got an apron on, and he hands a manifest to one of the other, like one of his employees, and walks over to you, and says, he says, looking to get outfitted for an excursion? I've got all you need. And he looks around and says, "Can I help you find anything?"
Glad to hear it. I have a list of items that I think will be very useful. And I like proffer up the note.
Yeah. He takes it, and he's got his like reading glasses on a little chain, and he like puts them on his nose and looks at them. He's like, looks at you, looks at the note again, looks at you.
I want to give him my most confident, like knowing smile,
Sure.
like deceptive, like we know what we're talking about. Kind
Yeah,
We are
to-
when I do not know, yeah.
right. Yeah. So he looks at it and then looks at you again, and he says, "Well, that's strange."
Strange why?
Well, I mean, this is my handwriting, and I don't remember giving this to you.
Oh,
Where did you? Are you picking up for someone?
Indeed. Some friends of ours are away for reasons, trouble with
don't listen to her.
Yeah,
It's
he looks over at you, and like his eyes go wide a little bit, and then he definitely like turns his attention back to the good kind of elf.
it's for the scribes.
He says it's odd. I mean, they paid for this. They were meant to pick. I've had it since yesterday. They were meant to come and pick it up. It's a receipt. But I
Well,
suppose if you're picking up for them, it's better late than I've got their gold
Yes,
already.
well, if you have the money and you have the item, I don't see what the problem is.
Yeah, and he turns
Here's
over his
the
shoulder
note.
and to a younger one of the employees. He's like, Brand, come here. He gives him the receipt. He's like, go and fetch this order from the back, and the kid goes to get it. And he says, well, while you're here, he pats himself down. Hold on. He goes over to the cash, like the desk where he keeps cash. And he bends down, and like you can hear him rummaging around. He comes up and he's holding a like a book, a small little like folio or whatever, and he holds it out and he's like, you can return this. Your scribe friends left it here the last time. Quite a hurry, those two.
I take the book. Of course, we'll give it back to them.
Yeah.
And I hand it to Graveris, like behind me.
Sure. Yeah. And so the kid comes back with a couple of items, the list, right? A pound of like chalk dust, scroll case, that kind of thing. Those three things.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna inspect all of the stuff. Like I open the bag and look in it.
Mhm.
It's chalk dust.
Yep.
And the scroll, like it's all just
It's
mundane.
all just mundane. Yeah, mundane stuff.
I'm just like, well, when they told us to pick this up, this isn't quite. We'll just return this, if we may.
And he looks at it, and he looks at you, and he says, well, your friends have already paid for it. It was so you don't want it then?
We've already got replaced.
They have another source, and I don't think they're going to need this. We would only inconvenience them by bringing it to them. Just give us the gold. Keep some for your trouble, of course, but we'll take their money back to them. They have no need of this anymore, I don't think.
Yeah, and he frowns and he says, well, all right. They seem quite insistent on it, and we rushed the order, but shrugs. Customer's always right, huh? And
Yes, they're just scrambling under deadlines, the anxiety of the thing.
Yeah, so he comes back. He goes over to the desk and he fishes out some coin. He comes back and gives you like, it's like 2 gold and like 30 silver.
Great, 2 gold. I won't even
no.
bother writing down the silver. I like slide the silver back. I'm like, for your trouble.
He scoops it back and he's like, all right. If there's
I'd say
anything
it's
else
2
you
gold,
folks
ma'am.
need, and he gestures around, he says, please feel free to browse.
I've been quiet throughout all of Graveris's like negotiation, but I clearly sort of like have, I don't know, misgivings about like we might need this stuff for something, and you're just selling it back.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's mundane stuff and whatever.
Yeah, unless you're gonna like draw a circle with chalk dust to summon a, like.
I am a warlock.
That's kind of my thing.
I mean, Elf, do you want to make like a? I mean, it's too generic to be like.
Yeah, I
a
mean,
clue
you're
as
right.
to what they were gonna do with it, right?
You're right, but I don't know. I think in character, I definitely have that misgiving though, like where it's like I found this thing and now you're just fucking.
Yeah, and Graveris is just being pushy with it. Yeah, totally. But we have the book.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we do have the book, and I'd like to say to our shopkeep friend, there are a couple of things I would need if you do have them in stock.
Yeah.
The vellum that you were going to use for this order would be useful to me, actually, along with some pen, like ink or quill.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, he's got basically anything that you would need to purchase. You can buy any of the normal kind of gear off.
So yeah, I'm just gonna buy like map making stuff.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, you can figure out. Assume you have it and figure out the goal.
I mean, I already have most of it.
Great.
All right. So where do you look at the book? Do you just like check it out in like as soon as you get outside, or?
Yeah, just out front. We can all huddle up and just look through this.
Yeah, so it's like a notebook. Meant to like have like sketches or notes written in it. The first like 10 or so pages have been torn out. The rest of the book appears to be blank, save for the last page, which is a map. The map has directions to a location in the foothills of the Dragonspine Mountains some 2 days hence. The map has like compass marks in the paper.
Yeah, so Graveris is just like our next destination.
Yeah, and you get the impression, so the compass is like a scale adjuster, right? So like if it's this far apart on a big map, then you adjust it and draw according. Yeah. So it's a smaller scale version.
They replicated. Yeah, no, I
got it.
He's a smart guy.
Yeah, Graveris figures it out.
Yeah, so yeah, just like our next destination, and we can like cut from that scene with the camera like on the map.
Yeah, that sounds good. Let's grab our second break, and then we can do the.
We just Indiana
traveling.
Jones.
Yeah, we
map
Indiana Jones
across
that shit.
the...
Exactly.
Yeah, for sure. 2 days later, I'm sick of all of you.
That's right. For some reason, no one's there, and the elf has killed everybody. Fantastic.
Fantastic. All right.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll find out where the map leads when we come back. So stick around. We got more Adventurers League when we return.